Hello, I'm Robert, and you're welcome here in my Bizzle shop. On today's episode of What's on My Workbench, we're going to be working on what I think would make a nice gift. Now, I realize we're just coming up on Labor Day, and so the holidays are a little ways down the road, but they'll be on top of us before you know it. And I've got a fun project that could be a Saturday afternoon project, and you can take this project and expand on that. Let me take you outside and just show you really quickly where my thought process came from for that. I appreciate you taking time to be with me in the shop today. So the whole idea for my project I got because I need to carry some of this in. We're going to have a cool evening, and I thought it'd be nice to have a fire. And if you've ever carried in split wood on your arm, you get marks on there. But worse, this spruce has got all kinds of sap. You end up with sap on your arms you're having to clean off. So let's go back to the workbench and I'll show you exactly what we're going to be working on today. All right, to get started, I went through my Vegtan somewhat scraps. This is just some leftover 6-ounce natural Vegtan here. We're going to use that. I'm going to have to dye that a color that's going to be similar to this. This is a single shoulder that I cut off of some pebbled finish. Let me get you a closer look. This is a really nice leather, and as some of my leathers recently, I purchased this from Montana Leather. It's got a nice texture in it, and I've used this to make some travel bags. The travel totes, really popular in this color and finish. So this is a single shoulder that's left over from using the rest of the hide to make a tote, and I'm going to make, I guess it's going to be a different type of tote. So let's get this dyed, and then I'll show you and have you follow along with what we're going to be working on today. So I think this golden brown should make a nice looking complement to that leather. Just using some old denim here. Not overly worried about the unevenness. Well, I'm not worried about it yet. It should even out here. I'll go over this usually 3 times in 3 different directions, and it seems like it does a good job of evening it out. You can dip dye as well. I do on a regular basis dip dye leather. Now I have to cut this leather into 4 pieces, and I could have done that before I dyed it, but one reason why I didn't is this piece of leather, it's part of a shoulder, has been kicking around my shop for quite a while, and I've had it before where you end up with scratches that don't show up until you get dye on here, and I figured this is oversized by probably 25%, and I figured that if I had it dyed first, I could wait and see how the finish looked on it before I cut it. And if I've got some scratches, I can probably adjust my pieces to cut out a little bit to avoid having an issue on it. So I'm just about done here. I will set this aside and let it dry, and in the meantime we can go back over and work on the other piece a little bit in preparation here. Alright, to get started I need to cut a piece of leather that is 18 inches wide, and I'm just kind of using this square to make sure I'm somewhat square with this end cut. I'll square up and clean up all these sides here. Well, as you've probably guessed, when I talked about carrying firewood, I'm going to make a tote for carrying firewood in from the wood pile. sometimes you get all cleaned up and then you realize you need more firewood, and if you're like me, you're like, I really don't want to go out there and get sap on, or I put a jacket on and kind of sacrifice the sleeves of the jacket or a work shirt, and because you're going to get sap on there. And this is just a simple carrier that I think a lot of people could find use for. And like I said, it's a simple afternoon project, and anybody that enjoys a fire and needs to carry firewood, I think could find use for one. So this piece is 18, and I'm just making it out of however long I can get out of this piece of leather. So I'm just starting off by creating as large of a rectangle as I can here and keeping my edges nice and clean. So what we've got is 34 inches. All right, I'm going to skive this edge down a little bit here. I need more practice with my skiving knife, but we'll jump in here. I wonder if anybody out here has got an opinion on bell skivers. Yeah, I'm thinking about another piece of equipment. And I don't know. I don't really end up skiving leather that often, but maybe that's because, you know, I think there's a lot of people that say they don't like to skive, and I would probably put myself in that category. And this knife does help, obviously. You know, being sharp is an important part of it here. But we're going to skive down this edge. Now, if you're not a person that likes to skive, don't let that stop you from doing this project. What I would do in that case is I would just cut this strip of leather. Instead of it being 18 inches wide, I would just go with 16 inches wide and leave the edge raw. You're making a tool that, and there's nothing wrong with a tool, you know, a tool to use for, you know, around the fireplace or something. There's nothing wrong with that looking, you know, pretty or attractive, but it is just a tool after all. And if you don't want to skive, then I'm not going to tell you you need to skive. And as I've said, it's not my favorite thing to do in the world is to skive. And there's people out there a lot better at it than me. But I've been thinking about a bell skiver, and a bell skiver would, shoot, I'd already be done. It's kind of like thinking about, do you want to hand sew or use a sewing machine? The bell skiver, once it's set right, we would have been done skiving this a long time ago and moved on to the next step. Trying to make sure that I don't chew into this edge here, because that will be unattractive. I'll have to trim this and make it a little bit narrower would be my fix for that. So I'm going to keep working here. Once I get this edge skived down and the other one, then I'll come back and we'll be ready for some of the assembly, and then we'll need to jump back over to the Vegtan leather and get that cut into the right size strips. All right, we're just about to the point where I'm satisfied with what we've got here. And I don't know, I resharpened the knife. It seemed like it does better on one side than the other, which I think can be an indication of a bevel that's pushed one way or the other. But either way, I've kind of worked my way through here. But I would like to know what your opinion is on bell skivers. If you've got a bell skiver, what brand do you have, and you know, what model? I'm really thinking hard about buying it, and I think I said earlier, I'm like, I don't really do that much skiving. Well, that could be because I could be doing more projects that would involve skiving, but I think maybe I have a tendency, like a lot of people might, to avoid those projects. But either way, I've futzed around here for 7 or 8 minutes, and I've got these two edges, I think, looking pretty good. Let's clean this up and go on to the next phase here. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is establish my line I'm going to fold back to on this carrier. I'm going for a 1-inch or 7/8 seam along the edge. So if I put this on here, this should be where I'm going to fold that to. That's 2 inches over. Now that I've marked the edge and applied the double-sided tape, I'm going to fold this leather over. And I did end up chewing into this corner a little bit, but that's going to be underneath my handles. So let's go ahead. And I find when I'm doing a long seam like this, if I use some of these binder clips and just kind of come through here, get it lined up, and clip it every 4 or 5 inches along here, it seems like it works easier for me. Once I get it clipped in here like that, hopefully I don't have my hat in the way, then what I tend to do is I'll roll a little spot here, get a crease form there, and then I'll clip there and work my way through here. If you don't have a roller, which these things work really pretty nice, but if you don't have one, you can tap it down with a hammer, and sometimes I do a combination of both when I'm working on a seam like this. The hardest thing is keeping from having your seam walk or crawl in a direction you don't want it to go. Let's check my width here. 16, 15, 15 sixteenths, 15 sixteenths, 7/8, and 7/8. All right, that is good enough for government work, as they say. Now, I'm going to sandwich the top of this with the Vegtan leather, and I'm going to bring the Vegtan leather off of the top, so my seam will only be through 2 layers of Vegtan leather, and the ends are going to be the same way. So what I want is a 1/4 inch seam above and on the sides here. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to cut it, I should probably give myself a little bit of room. I'm going to go 16 5/8, and originally I thought about a 4-inch handle up here. I think I'm going to still do that. So let's grab that other leather, and I need to cut 16 5/8 by 4-inch strips. Now, I'm really glad that I dyed this before I cut the strips. This is from the neck. It's a double shoulder and actually maybe a little bit forward of that. And we've got all of these natural wrinkles that are in here, and I like that look. It doesn't bother me at all. But I can decide now, do I want those to be vertical on the handle, or do I want them along it? And for some reason, I think I want that vertical stripe. So I'm going to start off here with a straight cut here, so that I guess I need to look. I want it to be more right angle to those stripes. Better make sure I got enough. I need 16 inches. Okay. And then we'll just cut 4-inch strips here. Careful not to drag the yardstick on here. It's got anti-slip tape on there to keep it from moving around on the leather so much. So there's my strip. I'm just going to do that 3 more times and I'll be right back. Okay, there's number 4. All right, so we have our 4 strips here. So as I'm sitting here working, I'm thinking to myself, do I want a square corner up here on the top? Square corners on leather, in my opinion, don't do all that well. So I think I'm going to avoid that square corner. And I could just sew this together and cut the radius then, but then you would see this leather here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my larger rounding tool and I'm going to cut a radius on here. And then when I use that same tool to cut a radius on here, once I have it layered up, I know I won't expose that because I'll be a 1/4 inch higher. I think that makes sense. I'll just cut this corner off here. And I'll just do that 3 more times. All right, so I've got those 4 corners cut now. Let's go back to this other part now. And we need to cut these 16 5/8 wide. And I like this, the movement, these wrinkles. And I think I like this side better, so I'll square this up. Make sure I got plenty to work with. I need 16 5/8, I do. So let's square this up here. All right, there's number 4. Make sure inchworm didn't get me. Oh, they're all the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply contact adhesive along the ends and along the top here. I'm not going to do the bottoms of each. I'm going to put some double-sided tape because the contact adhesive really doesn't stick well to the to this leather here. And you could scratch it up, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew across, well, I'm going to sew all the way around, but the sewing will be enough to hold the bottom, and I'm only really applying contact adhesive to the top and ends of this because I want those to burnish up really nice, and I'll dye the edge so it looks like one piece of leather, sandwiching that together. Well, it kind of rhymes, doesn't it? All right, so I'll set up on contact adhesive, and we'll get that done here. And all I really need is 3/8 of an inch, but I'll make sure I've got plenty on here. This contact adhesive is getting a little bit thick, but there's like none left in my applicator. I need to get the can out and refill it here, but it seems like I'm always working on a deadline. I feel like I don't have time to do that right now. Contact adhesive, I haven't spent as much time in the shop this summer as I don't know, hope to. I tend to get busy with other things up here, construction projects and such, and you've maybe seen some of my videos in that area. And my point of saying that is I think this is still the same, this holds almost a liter, almost the same liter of contact adhesive that's been in there since the beginning of June. So June, July, August. I don't know, we must be going on about, I'll say 9 weeks. It's not the end of August here, even though that's coming quick. And the little bit's thick in there, when I dump more contact adhesive in there, it'll be fine. But that'll be a project probably for later today. I'll go through here and put this double-sided tape. Doesn't need to be close. to the edge. Just one more way of tacking things in place in this process. All right, to get started, my leather machine company, Cobra 26, is threaded with some black. I figured black would be fine. Some black 207 thread here. And I'm going to set probably, since my seam's way over here, I'm going to set probably something close to a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch seam allowance here. I want to make sure I don't get off the edge though. That looks about right. And I don't need to worry about a back stitch at the beginning, as that will be sandwiched between layers of leather. I tell you, I've been really happy with this Cobra 26 sewing machine. I've had it now for a little more than a year. I bought it at the Heart of Texas Leather Show last year. That's in Waco, Texas. I ordered it in advance and picked it up at the show, which saved me the cost of shipping. And if I remember right, it's like a $100 show discount, which basically this table's $110. So in essence, you can get the table for free. And I've said before, I think it'd be a mistake, at least for me, to buy the machine without the table. I find it extremely handy, especially doing projects such as this. I'm looking at the back, and I don't think it would matter. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a second row of stitching across here that's parallel to it, but over closer to where that edge is going to be. And yeah. All right, more sewing. Oh darn. Don't get overexcited and have a variation in here, because it'll definitely show if you have much of a variation between those rows of stitching. I wonder if someone has an opinion. Oh, that's dangerous words, isn't it? Yeah, but I was going to say there might be visually pleasing proper distance between rows of thread here. Okay, we are ready for the next step. All right, so I've got my side stitching completed. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to sandwich up the top here. I've got double-sided tape here, and I'm going to start laying this on here this direction because the double-sided tape will stick pretty well to this somewhat smooth flush side of the leather. So let me pull this off of here. And then I'm just going to visually center it side to side and top to bottom. Just like that. Oh, I was hoping that was a UPS truck. I've got some stuff I'm hoping to see soon. Okay. Get this next piece here ready. Somebody said on one of my videos that they're glad to see they weren't the only one that struggled with removing the backing on some of this double-sided tape. I had some that I purchased from another supplier that was easier to remove, but it was quite a bit more expensive. So I bought some of this Ted's tape, and I've been pretty happy with the Ted's tape. I need to quit talking, pay attention to what I'm doing here. Get that lined up. I'm just going to clip this on this outer 1/4 inch. It'll help make contact on the contact adhesive. All right, now that I've got this clipped in place here, these corners I think are pretty well set. So I can kind of make sure there. I'm going to go ahead and cut this rounded corner here. It would be hard to follow stitches in that curvature if I didn't. There's my curve. Let's reclip that till I get over on the sewing machine. Let's go over on the sewing machine and sew this end panel on here. All right, I'm going to set my seam here, or seam allowance, I guess you would say. Always check, make sure you got plenty of thread. And I think I might be challenged stepping off of this edge here. So I'm going to start, I think, and sew this direction, follow around the top and finish up. Yeah. Let's see where this lines up. Yeah, it looks like I'm just going to miss the edge of that first leather, which is fine. I'll catch it on the bottom when I come across here. And I need to start up I'm going to start up here about 1/2 inch. I'm going to wrap around when I come from the other direction and overlap. All right. Okay, so I crept away, and I think it's because of that rolled edge there. So I think that's going to be my new seam allowance there. I think that's the right way to fix that. I think this edge will be held now with contact adhesive. Let's get these clips out of the way. Oh, kind of went far there, didn't I? Roll this up here so I can get this turned. This is a hard turn, not a soft turn. Ah, hate that. I gotta lift up here a little bit. Get some relief. It's hard getting up on this. It's probably going from 12 ounces to 20 ounces here with this seam. I may have to go back and hand stitch to fix that. You can hear it working across here. Ah! I can see that needle flexing. A lot of leather there. So do the other side. I hand fed it through that one that was difficult, and it made it. I guess we found about max thickness, didn't we? Okay, let's pull this out and see what we got here. Hopefully it's not too much of a mess. I need to sew this panel here. I'm going to cut a hand opening and I'll sew around that. But that's only going to be as thick as here. Over here, let's measure that. This seam is, wow, almost 23 ounces. On the edge here it is 23 ounces. That's a lot of leather. So 16 ounces is a 1/4 inch. So that's, I guess, a little more than 3/8 of an inch. Okay, what did we learn? That when I've got this thick of leather here, I need to have a larger border here because this thick leather here pushed my sewing machine off. I guess that's why I make a prototype, but I didn't keep a consistent seam when I got here. The other thing I could do, I guess, is I could just go without this skived edge. Maybe this whole thing is teaching me a lesson that my skive should have been further up the leather so that my seam isn't so bulky here, which caused me some issues. So it's probably an adjustment of a couple things. More overlap here, more skive here, but I guess that's why we do a prototype, or first project is to learn these things. So the next thing I need to do is I need to put a handle in here, and it needs to be not too close to the top. I wonder, I suppose if I put it dead center, it would visually look correct. Let's try that. The worst we can do is, as I've said before, throw it in the trash and start over. Let's lay this out here. 6, 10, 6. Let's think about this. I can always make the hole larger. It's hard to make it smaller. I'm going to go 7 inches in here. And, well, then that is pretty small. 6 inches. And 6 inches. That gives me 4.5. Oh, I guess I was right. Let's do that. Let's do 5 inches here and 5 inches here. Okay, and then I'll just use a straight edge, connect these. I'm wondering, should I sew around that first? Probably could have made it narrower, but the horse is out of the barn now. Can't get it back. I think I'm going to have to freehand my distance here from the edge. I'm going to go over and sew that outer line, and then we'll cut this center out here. All right, so I thought I'd bring you along for this torture. Sewing this half circle here on each end is something I haven't practiced much, so I guess in the idea of being transparent, I'll show you how it goes. But I have to start off with, I guess I could use the guide here, but I'm just going to freehand it. Let's see how it goes. Okay, I'm at the top, so I need to turn here a little bit. Kind of walk it around here one stitch at a time, catch it on its upward. I want to get the two petals mixed up down here. Guess I can just hand feed this. Just probably about as easy. I think it looks best if you have some sort of turn on every stitch so you don't have a flat spot where there's two stitches running straight. My mother used to do a lot of stitching, and there was times I'd watch her and she would hand feed. A lot of times it was around zippers or something you might break a needle on. All right, off we go again. Okay, we're back there again. Up. Okay, let's finish up here. And then I want to make sure I enter that same spot. Let me pull back just a hair. You can shuttle the needle back by using the reverse, but I've had mixed results doing that. So probably just need to practice it more. All right. All right. We are nearing this home stretch. When I get done, I'll work on my edges some. I'll put a little bit of dye on those and then resin. But let's clip these threads or melt them. Get them out of the way. I need a new battery in this zapper. Let's not mess this up. I mean, it is a prototype, but still. A lot of times if you cut through this, then you nick this other side. I try not to finish that way. So I'll turn the knife around and cut that last little bit this way. Probably 1.5 inches too big a hand opening. I'll run my number 2 edger around here. And I can see now, if I was thinking, I would have finished this edge here before now. It's going to be a challenge to do. I'll probably just burnish it and not add color on that bottom edge because I don't want to stain this other leather. Once again, I guess that's what prototypes are about. It'll end up mine. I need to make a couple because I thought they might be popular this time of year at the artisan show. A little bit of Rosaline here. And got a pretty good burnish here on the edge. The rest of the leather doesn't need it. I have oiled that other leather. I've put clear on it before too, but I don't feel like it really needs it. I've oiled it. I've also used mink oil paste on some of the totes that I've made with that leather. We'll let this dry and then I'll be back and we'll do a little bit of a review of it here. Well, there you go. I think it looks pretty good for a prototype project. There's a few things I think I would do different. One, I don't think I'd leave it doubled over up into here. I think I would start that taper sooner. Of course, unless I stopped before I got to there, I'm still going to have that challenge of sewing through those layers. It was a little bit of a challenge. I noticed as I was sewing, the needle was deflecting, and I had to stop and hand feed it, and I was able to push it through there. You know what? Let's go back out to the wood pile and see if it works. I know, I'm feeling the same thing. Taking the new leather project and throw it on the ground here. We'll put some wood in here and see if this is going to work. Part of the figuring was trying to figure out how big was big enough. You know, you want enough for a little bit of an evening fire. I don't know. I think If I remember right, this was 34 inches. I think I might make it a little bit bigger. That's not a bad little bundle though. Anyway, there we go, my prototype log carrier, and I do think I'll probably make it again and make it out of a longer strap of leather. Make a few changes. I did over make the size of the handle. I think it could have been probably 6 inches. Anyway, I appreciate you following along on today's video. Please like, share, and subscribe, but more importantly, I hope you have a great day.